I showed you remarkable patterns between Moshe and Tanya Jackson in the Gregorian calendar, and now I'll show you those same patterns align perfectly in the Hebrew calendar as well, despite the two calendar systems being entirely different, which makes this all the more extraordinary. But it doesn't stop there. These alignments further confirm an unprecedented pattern already present in the Book of Esther. Here we see the same 89-day symmetry between Moshe's and Tanya's Hebrew and Gregorian birthdays in the Hebrew calendar. Starting with Moshe, 89 days after Sivan 13, which is Moshe's Hebrew birthday, is Elul 13, which are the numbers 613, the Gregorian birthday for Moshe. This pattern repeats precisely with Tanya. 89 days after Tishrei 22, which is Tanya's Hebrew birthday, is Tevet 22, which are the numbers 1022, Tanya's Gregorian birthday. Remarkably, when I cross-pattern Moshe's and Tanya's Hebrew and Gregorian birthdays, they both show the same 127-day symmetry. For example, 127 days after Sivan 13, which is Moshe's Hebrew birthday, is Tishrei 22, Tanya's Hebrew birthday. And 127 days after Elul 13, which are the numbers 613, Moshe's Gregorian birthday, is Tevet 22, which are the numbers 1022, Tanya's Gregorian birthday. Why then is there a flawless pattern of 127 days and 89 days between Moshe's and Tanya's Hebrew and Gregorian birthday numbers, a pattern that, as ChatGPT previously noted, would be virtually impossible to attribute to chance? What is the significance of these numbers? There is only one verse in the entire Bible where both 8:9 and 127 appear together, which is in verse Esther 8:9 in the Book of Esther, whose name I share. Notably, Esther 8:9 is the longest verse in the entire Bible, and remarkably, the number 127 is mentioned at exactly the 127th letter of the verse, which is right over here, Sheva ve'esrim u'mea, which means 127. Emphasizing the importance of letter and word placement, a detail I will explain fully in forthcoming videos. The Bible isn't just a book of stories, it's a living coded structure, which I will demonstrate with mathematical precision. Beyond the numbers 8:9 and 127, Esther's longest verse contains one more number, Sivan 23, the Hebrew date when Tanya Jackson's remains were found. Esther 8:9 is the only place in the entire Bible where the date Sivan 23 appears. But there is an even more startling detail. Before Tanya Jackson was identified in April, the only date available to me was the date her remains were discovered, on June 28, 1997, which corresponds to the Hebrew date of Sivan 23. Even with just that, I found something unusual. Moshe's birthday is 613, and in Esther 8:9, the 6th through the 13th words spell out precisely the 23rd day of Sivan, the exact Hebrew date on which Tanya Jackson's dismembered torso was found. And we can see it right here, the 6th through the 13th words in Esther 8:9. And in Hebrew, it spells on the 23rd day of the 3rd month, that is the month of Sivan. What are the odds that the longest verse in the Bible, one that is mathematically connected to me in unmistakable ways, which I will demonstrate in the future, would reference a single specific date, the exact Hebrew date on which Tanya Jackson was found, the only significant date available to me at the time, and that this date would align perfectly with Moshe's 613 birthday? What I discovered in Esther, and especially now with the newly confirmed identities and birthdates for Tanya and her child Tatiana, the patterns within Esther have evolved to mathematical codes so precise and astonishing I couldn't believe my eyes. It's like the original design was waiting for these missing pieces. Moreover, these mathematical patterns between Moshe and the murder victims are incredible on their own, but they are further validated by their alignment with both pi and the Fibonacci sequence, adding additional layers of compelling mathematical proof. I'll be sharing the full impact of it in future videos. It may sound like science fiction now, but once I present all the evidence, including the mathematical proof between the Book of Esther and me, it might be one of the greatest miracles ever told.